previously on In Transition?
So for me, being an entrepreneur, I'm changing the world one team member, one client at a time. I make little ripples all the time that change how things get done. I was just sorry.
No, go ahead.
First. Nope,
you first. Go ahead.
No, look, I'm Canadian. We could do this all day long.
I mean, I'm here all day for it. But what I was going to say is that you yourself are creating these little ripples with everything you touch, everybody you talk to, but you're actually showing your team, this is a way to do it because I hate this cliche phrase, and I know Lauren's going to crack up when I say it, because your team now feels seen, valued, and heard. Go ahead and laugh, Lauren. Go ahead.
But it's true. They do.
Back to that acknowledging and validating. We all want to be validated.
Right? But it's true. And it sounds really corny. And it's something I know that you and I have talked about, Corey, quite a lot. But for most people, especially people in an administrative role, that doesn't happen.
Never.
Or when it does, it's backhanded.
Yeah.
Right? It comes with, you were great, but.
Exactly. It's a backhanded compliment. Yeah.
So sorry, Lauren, go ahead.
I love everything you were saying. Like, if you are someone who likes to challenge the status quo, I was like, that was the first thing I latched on. I was like, yep. You don't like to accept things at face value.
Yep.
Loved your comment about being the boss you always wish you had. Because how many of us have been in that situation where you're like, my soul is being sucked from me working for this human or this team of humans. But yet we feel stuck. So it's like, yeah, who wouldn't want to be the kind of boss they've always looked for? We are so excited to be back for part 2 of this conversation. If you haven't listened to part 1, we encourage you to go back and take a listen. Now on to the show.
Right? Like in the last couple of weeks, 2 of my team members have reached out. So I am, as an entrepreneur, I am trying to learn new skills, and I am trying to delegate more of the everyday client work to my team to take me out of it, which frees up my time to do more prospecting and conversations like this. Which is like, as I need to control things, it's very difficult for me to hand those over, but they are actively reaching out to me, checking in to make sure I'm still okay about the things that they're doing. They're checking to see if I'm all right. And I mean, literally 2 of them in the last couple of weeks have been like, hey, just as a reminder, we want you to succeed. We are here for you. We love working for you. You're the best boss we've ever had. We absolutely think it's fantastic. And I'm like, I'm gonna cry.
That's the feedback you dream about as a
I'm like, oh my God. And especially for me, like everybody's hard on themselves. And Corey and I have had conversations, so she knows I'm really tough on myself. And I have spent the last month thinking I'm failing my team because I can't do these things. And here's my team telling me, no, you're crazy. We love you. You're fantastic. And you're giving us this stuff. Awesome. Give us more.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, I don't know if I can. It hurts, but okay. It really does, to unlock those tentacles, man. Oh,
I mean, that's the, for people to be able to, come to you and tell you, because literally what your team members are telling you is like how much of an impact you have made on them, in the span that they've known you. And I know that probably by the time we drop your podcast episode, well, obviously the podcast will be live and premiered, and not nervous about that at all. But, recently Lauren and I had our podcast launch party earlier this week. And I don't know about Lauren, I'm not going to speak for Lauren, but for her and I to hear, one of the questions we asked in the intro part of the launch party was, why are you here? What brought you here? And for people to say, we're here for Lauren and Corey, or I know Lauren through this, I know Corey through that, and we stand behind, we support what they do. I left that party like, whoa, like, oh, okay. And, my biggest fear is I beta tested a coaching program for a really, really good friend of mine, not too long ago. And it was like, my biggest fear in life is to always be led by my ego. And so I always try to push all of that stuff down, like, oh my God, you're so great, you're this. And I just try to push it all down because it's like, I don't want to hear it because I'm so afraid that my ego will walk into a room before I do physically. And, but in doing that, you lose yourself, then you start to doubt yourself. You start to think, oh no, I'm not good enough. I'm catapulting, or I'm torpedoing my team into the ground. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. So it's cool to have those reminders, but you got to figure out the sweet spot. You got to figure out the balance of it all,
Yeah.
And I think I sit with Sarah a little bit on this one too, where I'm like, I am the worst person at receiving compliments. That's kind of what I'm hearing. Like, I've never been good at it. It's been a practice in recent years to be like, oh, like let someone say something nice about who you are, what you do, and like be able to receive it.
Thank you so much. And not be like,
it's still a struggle. Even at the launch party, I was kind of like, oh, it's so nice to hear that. Like we love hearing like validation that we're doing something positive in someone's life, that they're appreciative, and that they're in so much support of what we're doing. Like, I think that was the biggest thing for me. I was like, you actually believe in what we're doing. But
then do you feel like, don't fuck it up?
Yeah. I mean, I feel very responsible for people like in my care. So I always go to, I don't know if it's a Simon Sinek quote of like, it's all about the people in your care. That's like what a true leader is. Like how you show up for them is very important to me. And integrity is everything. And that's usually where I get in trouble with other leaders I interact with. When I start to feel like they're not in integrity, I start to check out. Because like, I can't do this. I can't be around this. I don't know how you're okay doing this to other people. Like we're talking like malicious or blatant manipulation of people.
Like I'm
not okay with it.
We all see what you're doing.
I see what you're doing and I cannot stand for it.
No.
And I've witnessed it too many times.
My friends and I joke that when that kind of situation arises for me, basically my kindness becomes weaponized. Like there is a dramatic difference between me talking to you guys like this, having a great time, being polite, being respectful, no problem. When you do something like that and you cross the line in front of me, oh, I'm polite. I am so polite. The room will freeze over and you will die. Like there's just no, like.
My mom's the same way. Like she gets a certain tone. And I think it's only something that her children can recognize, because both my brother and I can be somewhere with her. And there's like this super subtle like shift in stuff.
Holds herself a little taller, a little firmer.
And
the voice
her
changes.
body language gets a little different. Her facial expression changes just that little bit. And the minute the person walks away, I'm like, what's wrong with them? What they do? And she'll, oh, okay, that tracks. All right, go ahead. Not like she needed our permission to keep going because she's our mother, but you become nice, nasty.
And it is difficult for me personally to accept compliments. I'm cool with compliments for my skill set, right? Like, I'm freaking awesome at what I do. I know that. I kill it. I rock it. I'm the best you'll ever find. I'm amazing. Zero questions about my skill set. But when it comes to compliments that are about me personally and how I do things and my decisions, it's very difficult for me to hear. I started, Corey, I know we were chatting about this a little bit on Instagram the other day, and Corey was shocked to hear me say these things. So for me, because I'm in a larger body, the conversations people have with me on a personal level are usually vastly different than the conversations I get when it's about my skill set. So complimenting me on my personality is usually done with well, she's a nice girl. She's got a great personality kind of deal, right? So I'm not used to compliments like that personally, that are actually well-intentioned and meant and sincere and heartfelt. So I don't actually know how to accept them on a personal level. And it makes me massively uncomfortable. But I've also in the last few months started realizing that problem translates to my business as well too, right? Like it causes me to question what I'm doing because I can accept it on a personal level. So then I try to minimize my personality, which never works. Right. And that leads to mistakes with clients and miscommunication because I'm trying to be what I think they want, not the person I am that they hired. So we're working on that. But yeah, compliments make me feel weird.
Make my skin crawl sometimes.
Well, I think we just like need to get in a better habit of practicing giving and receiving.
Mhm.
I'm great at giving them. I am terrible at receiving them.
Like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Same.
tell me that."
Same.
Yeah.
Absolutely the same. One of the things I did want to ask, that when you first started talking about, how your transition from, full-time employee to entrepreneur. So you started CVA Pros 7-8 years ago, right?
Yeah. Yep. 2016.
So at the time, I want to say that, COVID brought on a lot of stuff. COVID brought on the surgence of VAs and online business managers.
Yep.
But that was when you were already like 4 years in.
Yeah.
So were you kind of, for lack of a better word, like a trailblazer in terms of having a VA service? Because again, that's 7-8 years ago when it wasn't so much of a hot topic trending type thing.
Yeah, pretty close. Not quite a trailblazer. I was coming up behind some other people.
Mhm.
But I'm at the leading edge of what that movement became.
Mhm.
Right. So I'm not quite the cutting edge, but I'm pretty close to it. I can see it just in front of me.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with a couple of the international players in the virtual assistant market. Like I know who they are. And for me, COVID was great for my business. It was awesome. But what I started to see is a lot of people who like used to be teachers and now are like, but now I'm a virtual assistant. I'm like, based on what?
I didn't get that. Yeah.
Or
that's something I can do.
Right.
Can you though?
I just came out of college and I've got a diploma, so I'm going to be a VA. I'm like,
no,
it's because you got taught how to use Word wrong.
Yeah.
Like, okay. I mean, no offense to the college courses or the people who took them. I'm not questioning your skill set, but there are things that are taught, sure, that are helpful as the basics, but with no real life experience to back that up. In my career, I had to do things like arrange for a private plane to be parked at an airport. Right? Now, granted, that's a very unique skill set to have, but I know how to do that because I've been doing what I do for so long.
Yeah.
Right? When my client systems, when they can't access something, we don't freak out. We're just like, okay, let me get it to you. And I go through a back door or try something different, or I have a different access point and I go and I grab it because I have experience to do that.
Yeah.
So COVID was great for widening the pool of available people to hire from and for making it a much more palatable and acceptable choice as a career path. But I think a lot of people leapt to it and they don't fully understand what being an administrative assistant is.
Yeah.
So these days there's a lot of like niche market, only do this, only do that, which is great for some people. But I'm an administrative assistant in the truest sense of the word for my clients. The only thing I don't do is I don't photocopy and I don't file.
Because you're virtual.
Because I'm virtual. And I mean, really, I can photocopy if you don't mind printing off your own PDF of whatever it is. But, right, like to me, being an administrative professional, being a virtual assistant is no different than being in the office. My job is to support you and your team or your company to the best of my ability. And that means I have to anticipate your needs as if they were my own.
Yeah.
I mean, you're literally a team member of you. As soon as you take on another client, you are literally on their team. So you are as fully invested in the team, in the company, as you are in the client, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, for me, it's the difference between I just want to make money and this is what I'm drawn to do.
Yeah.
I love telling people what to do. It's my favorite thing in the world. And I get paid to do it. Right. And my clients are successful and they've got great businesses and they're doing amazing things. But I don't do it because I want to make money. I do it because it makes me happy. It just also happens to make me money.
I think that's where a lot of disconnect is with stuff and people, entrepreneurs. I think entrepreneurship has been glamorized so much, you know, in the sense of, oh, I'm just going to start this business and it's going to be great and it's going to be fine. And I think what people tend to forget, or what is not shown as much, which should be, entrepreneurs, we're also HR, we're the janitor, we're the accountant, we're the marketing department, we're all the things. And it's way harder than a W-2 job from in various points in time. And I think people just think, well, I have this uncapped money-making potential. True. But you trade a lot of yourself. You trade a lot of your bandwidth on that. And when you realize, oh, this is some hard ass shit to do, okay, I'm out. I tap out.
Right.
You know?
And
go ahead.
For me, when I struggle with compliments, so then having to write something positive and upbeat and happy and shiny and promoting my business makes me super uncomfortable. Right? Like so uncomfortable. But I'm the owner. I have to do it. I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Can I hand it off to somebody on my team? Sure, but I'm still going to have to tweak what they wrote. I'm still going to have to change it. And I mean, that's true of our clients too, like, except one of them, we've got her pretty well down, but it's harder than people think it is to do it, but it's not as hard as people make it out to be to start it.
Yeah.
Right. I've made it part of my mission as the entrepreneur that I am. When people reach out to me to ask me questions about being a VA, I don't turn them away. I answer the questions, you know, and a lot of others don't. It's led to some really great connections. Like I actually work twice a year. I do an event with Conestoga College and Kitchener-Waterloo, where their executive assistant program and their virtual assistant program actually interview people like me who are in the roles. And we talk about what it's like, what's important, what skills do we need to have, what are they looking for? And I'm weird for their, like, I'm unique in their offering because I have almost 20 years of experience in the corporate world. And then I have another 7 years of entrepreneur that comes with it. So they get the best of both with me when they interview me, but mentoring, giving the opportunity to those younger people to like actually ask me questions, to listen, is really important. And when other people in my life become entrepreneurs or other virtual assistants, knowing that they can come and ask me a question about what I did or my system or what I've learned or who should they talk to, how did they find work, you know, sure, I could be really productive. Oh no, I can't tell you how to find your own clients. What are you talking about? I'm like, no, hey, here are some great pools you can go to pull clients from. Safe, you're not going to get scammed. Like, go here, do this, don't take these. Like, but I've also made some great connections, right? Like I got to meet Corey. I got to meet Valerie Ocoin, who is actually the woman who's just redesigned my website this spring for me. So
I think I had a call with her. Yeah.
Okay. Valerie's awesome, right? So the opportunity is there to be what people want it to be. But yeah, COVID was good for business, but it's like a lot of things when there's a big shift, like you got to look at it and really look at who you're hiring, what you want them to do.
Yeah, that's real.
I always think about like having this picture of what you want to build when you start too, but also being flexible enough to know things may not go 100% according to like the plan you set out with. So I wanted to try and segue a little bit into, okay, you have this idea. You had this idea, I'm going to do this thing. You've honed in, it sounds like, on your skill set. You're like, I know what I do well, which is a part of, I think, being able to get that off the ground quickly. You're like, this is what I'm good at. Feel competent, maybe your zone of genius to a degree. But as you keep going, how does the journey evolve? Like how has that played out in your entrepreneurial experience?
It's like going from drawing a stick figure to having a fully fleshed out finished oil painting. I started with a really bad, super sketchy stick figure drawing of my house and me. And now I'm up to like, we got a calendar going on. It's a really nice photo calendar and there's a couple of glitches in it, but it's cool. It started with an idea and desperation. And I focused a lot, you're right, on what my skills were at first. And, so my delivery wasn't great at first. It was okay, but it wasn't awesome.
Yeah.
As time goes on, I got more comfortable with saying what I wanted my business to be. I got more comfortable with putting my personality into the messaging for my business.
Mhm.
And it takes a little bit of time to get used to that. And slowly you add the layers of complexity and depth, and you start to create that masterpiece that you're looking for. It's things like I'm at a point where I buy new hardware for my team if their personal hardware breaks, because I want them to be able to continue to do the job. So rather than them spend the money, I buy the hardware and ship it to them. And then I know that their machine meets my specs. This year, I was so excited. This spring, we are adding bookkeeping services, Canadian bookkeeping services, to our roster as an in-house solution.
Oh, wow.
And I have actually paid for one of my team members to actually do that course with the college by them. So I'm really excited that I'm at the point where I can invest back in the people that are supporting my business, and get them to where they need to be as well, which is awesome.
You do sound like the dream boss. I mean, you really do.
Yeah.
I mean, I try.
She's defining our version of leadership, because we always
Yeah.
joke, there's a difference between being a boss and there's a difference between being a leader.
Definitely.
And investing back in your people is huge.
Yeah, I think people, the word leader, it's almost become like a trending, like I don't know any other way to say it. It's just the definition of a true leader has become lost. A leader, from my perspective, is somebody that listens to the people that they are leading. They take into consideration what is being said to them, because the people that are aligned with you in your leadership role, they're like your boots on the ground. Those are your people, those are your listening posts. And if they're coming to you and saying, hey, what about this, or we're hearing this from from the community, we're hearing this from the clients, we're hearing this from this is what's going on in other spaces that we are also in, you need to kind of you need to shut up and listen and take a lot of that into consideration, because these are the people that believe in what you're doing and have jumped on that train, and I think when a person says I'm a leader and a boss, no, I'd rather, you got to pick one and do it well, but do it in a way that aligns with how you would want to be led and how you would want to be treated. I'm not sure if that really finessed the way I wanted it to, but yeah, I'm gonna leave it there.
Be the leader you would want to have.
Yeah, be the leader that you'd want to follow.
Yeah.
Like, I know for me personally, when I say the boss, like the connotation that comes with that based on my experience is pretty negative.
Yep.
To me, the boss is somebody who doesn't really listen, who doesn't actually care. Yep. There's no flexibility. There's no room for change. Like,
it is what it is.
Ego driven.
Yeah. Right. Like, so when my team calls me the boss, I'm like, please stop using that word.
Because I'm not.
I'm like, I'm not the boss. I'm not the boss.
And I'm tired of like the female versions of that. They get tossed around too, boss babe. And it's like,
what is that? Is such an oxymoron to me. I mean, and I know that it's like, you can be pretty and you can be hot and you can be a boss, but
is that what that means?
I just made that up. I'm not even sure if that's true, but we're going to say it is in this context.
I mean, I don't mind the hashtag boss bitch, but I've been using that for 15, 20 years.
Yeah. So. It's almost been made a mockery, for lack of a better way of putting it. And it's like,
I think a good way to think about it is there's so much language in flux right now as we struggle with redefining new roles and norms, that I think a lot of the older terms we've been using for a lot of things just don't fit anymore. And what we're currently using just don't suit. Right. So for me, I always tell the team I'm not the boss. I'm just Sarah. That's all I am.
Yeah.
I try even for my team on our website, I try to not use typical titles.
Your titles that you put for people are hilarious. I love them.
Right.
I absolutely love them.
We
Yeah.
call things like administrative goddess or design genius or wordsmith, or
It's cool.
it doesn't matter. I just, my title is the only one that looks official.
True.
But it just is the easiest way to explain what I do. Do I refer to myself that way? Not really. Do I let my team call me boss? Nope. Not interested.
Almost like you get it to a point where it's like, don't call me that. It's a bad word.
Well,
Yeah.
I always think about, like, I have this big thing with labels. I love talking to women about the labels we use to describe ourselves, because that's usually the only way we can actually speak to who we think we are, is we start listing all of our labels.
Mhm.
And labels to me always seem very reductive. Like, they're not comprehensive of who we actually are.
No.
And they're all different based on our lived experience, right? Like, I
Mhm.
loved your story of sharing like how people judge you by outward appearance. And like, this is a world we live in as women, period. Regardless of what side of the coin you're on, it's like you deal with that day in and day out. I remember working in Hollywood way back in the day, where I saw a glimpse of what life was going to be like working in that industry, how much it was about appearances. Didn't really matter if you had a brain, kind of thing. And I was just like, this is wild.
Mhm.
How do people do this?
Yeah. And I mean, especially as someone in a bigger body, like the comments people make based on my physical appearance, because it's okay to talk about my body.
Who
It's
said
okay
it?
to talk about anyone's body.
Yeah.
Right? It's not, but you and Corey are in a more normal or acceptable size body. Nobody would think to talk to you. But I was telling Corey about this. Like, I've had people stop me and congratulate me for doing a good job by eating an apple.
Yeah.
Right. I've been demonized and belittled because I ate a chocolate bar in public after working late. And the most recent for me was 2 years ago, I was diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic, which then led to me discovering that my whole family is full of those people, just nobody ever told me.
Mhm.
So I managed my diet and my health for blood pressure and high cholesterol, because I knew that ran in my family, but I didn't know about the diabetes.
Mhm.
And I went to the drugstore to pick up my first round of everything. I was still traumatized from my diagnosis, like it had been 24 hours. And as I was cashing out and getting all my stuff together, the woman behind me said to me, dear, if you just ate less, you wouldn't need to take that medication.
Oh, wow.
You're like, you don't even know me.
And I was
Who
literally
are
sitting
you?
there and I was like, in my head, I was like, I just filled in paperwork I have to send to the diabetes education clinic that says I ate 600 calories worth of food yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how I could eat less and still function. Like,
You know what
Like,
gets
you have
me?
no idea.
Yeah. First of all, bitch, you don't know me.
Yeah.
But also more importantly, when did we get to a space in society where it was okay to inject our opinions, thoughts on total strangers? When did that become okay? Like, first of all, I would never say what that woman said to you, Sarah, and F you for saying it, whoever you are. But when did it become okay for us to just like kind of insert ourselves into a minute, 20 seconds or whatever, into a total stranger's world to share our opinions about them, based on what I'm looking at?
When did people start talking?
Or that,
right?
I mean,
no, but that's when it started.
That's when it
right?
started.
Yeah.
The minute
Yeah.
people started to vocalize, it's been around forever.
Oh
and
my
I mean,
God.
the difference is, especially in the last 50, 60 years, we've seen a lot of changes about a lot of different things. And it's not okay to comment on the color of people's skins or their country of origin. It's not okay to talk about their preferred gender or their preferred sexual partners. It's not okay to talk about your money, blah, blah, blah. You know what nobody says is ever a problem is it's not okay to talk about people that are fat. Because when people who are in bigger bodies say, please don't talk about me like that, well, we're just trying to help you. Like, it is still, it's still the last. No, but societally, it's still the last acceptable public commenting or condemnation you can do.
And it's not acceptable on any level.
Not. No, but that's because you're a reasonable human being with good qualities and morals, and you've got decent ethics, and I like you. So, right? Like I
Okay.
don't personally choose to hang around with people that would think that that was okay, but
Yeah.
society, like in society as a whole, that's still one of the last remaining bastions of it's okay to talk negatively about people in a body like that.
Yeah.
Right? Because when people say nasty things about Ashley Graham, you don't see huge
Yeah.
media campaigns attacking those people.
Nope.
No. There's like a little blip in the radar and then it goes away.
Never to be seen or heard about again.
Right? But you make a comment about Miley Cyrus's choice of partner of the month and the world explodes.
People lose their shit.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I'm sorry, Lauren, we deviated a tiny bit there.
Yeah, tight. And I'm like, oh, this could be like a whole other.
This is a whole other episode.
This is a whole other conversation.
Whole other episode.
Yeah, because I mean, that's a great topic. All the bullshit we have to deal with. And
I mean, I just remember one day I was at this was like right after, maybe like 5 years, maybe after I graduated high school. And, you know, that's when like going to your high school alma mater's homecoming game was the thing to do, you know, show everybody, yeah, I'm cool. I'm older than you. I'm way cool. I'm an adult now. Look at me. And I just remember this girl looking, I don't know who this child was. I don't know who her parents were or anything, but she just randomly, I was walking down the steps of the stadium holding like a Pepsi or something. She's like, oh my God, you're so pretty for a Black girl. You look just like Tootie from Facts of Life. Okay, first of all, are you old enough to even know what the fuck Facts of Life was? You know, but
first of all, why you gotta qualify it? Like,
yeah. And I was just like, I just stared at her and just kept on walking. But and by no means am I comparing that to, you know, what you experienced.
No.
It's like, when in the world was anything like that in that thread of anything okay to say?
About 1942.
That's I mean, and I know it, but it's so crazy to me, you know?
Right? Yeah, it's insane. But back to Lauren's point about labels, like it's true. There are so many labels put on us, especially as women, from the time we emerge into the world to the time we leave it. And I'm enjoying this particular decade because this feels like the decade where I get to peel all those labels off, be like, nope. Nope.
Doesn't serve me.
Fresh out of fucks, Corey.
Right? Sorry, no more facts left to give.
Of our Lord 2023.
Right? Like legitimately. Like,
well, yeah,
I have
and I think like if we ever went down this road with this topic, there's so many different nuances to explore within it, because I feel like we're at a point now, especially our generations, and I say those of us who have crossed over into our 40s generally, when we start being fresh out of fucks, right, Corey? For the most part, we might start a little bit earlier, but when we witness injustices, in the past, we might have been quiet.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. We will not stand for that. We will speak out against it. And I feel like more of us are organizing in that way. Like, it's not okay that you talk to my friend like that. It's not okay that you talk to me like that. Like, I have to do this with my dad sometimes. Like, you can't say things like that.
It's like, we all heard that.
Yes, it's not okay.
We, when my sister came out at 18, right? Now, again, we're that generation where we're the first generation where it was kind of acceptable to be gay, right? Yeah. Like, we're that generation. So when my sister came out, everybody was like, ooh, we're going to fumble that ball for a second, but okay, yeah, we still love you, right? Like, hot potato coming at you, no warning. Like, oh shit. And I mean, it was not really a surprise to anybody in my family. It was just the way she chose to tell all of us was like, what the okay. Yes. All right, cool. Thanks for the abrupt conversation about that out of nowhere.
We were talking about going to pizza.
Yeah.
And then,
and all of a sudden we're talking about you going to Jennifer. Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right.
Right. Cool. No problem.
That's how she needed to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. But when my sister came out to my dad, now, for those playing the home game who've never met me before, my dad is in his 70s now, but was a police officer. So raised in a very Christian conservative household, goes into police work, right? And again, what my sister struggled to remember and still does sometimes is when my dad was raised, being gay was a disorder.
Oh.
That's what they were told, right?
Yeah.
Because at one point it was considered a mental health issue.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to go to professionals, right?
Yep.
But my dad had never, as far as he knew, had never known anybody who was gay or queer or whatever. Probably did, but nobody ever said anything overtly. So he never had to confront that thinking or do anything. And the people he did interact with were like working glory holes at the bathhouse. Like, we're not talking he was interacting with great people. So not that there's, again, nothing any wrong with that. It's just that's my dad's setting it up. So when my sister, right? So when my sister basically had an entire lunch with my dad, and in the last 15 minutes, by the way, I'm gay and I like girls, which is literally how that conversation went down. Again, torpedo, wee! My dad doesn't do emotional anything well anyway, at the best of times. And so my sister having this conversation with him, unplanned, unprepared, my dad did not respond the way my sister hoped. My dad said, are you seeing a professional to help you with that?
Because that's what he knew.
Because to him, that's what you did, because that's what you did when he was 15. Right? And again, he'd never been confronted with it. Yeah. And my sister, when she was older, she's like, I can't believe he responded, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, you were the generation that broke that mold. Like, you can't get mad at him for responding the way he did when he didn't know there was another way to do it. Like,
that's all he knows.
I mean, you can get mad at him, but you can't remain mad at him for the same mistake for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like, if a dad did that now, sure, because now they know there's a different way.
Exactly.
Right. But back then he didn't. And
I could share a similar story to that around my brother, because my brother came out as gay when he was 18.
Well,
and yeah, my dad, his reaction too. We were kind of like,
so my sister came home, she's bawling, she's upset, and she's like, I'm never speaking to my dad again. Blah, blah, blah. Goes up to her room and slams the door. It's like loud, angry girl music. And like the 80s, that's what you do. 80s, 90s. There's Melissa Etheridge, really loud. And I looked at my mom and I said, well, are you going to tell dad what he did wrong? And my mom said, no, your dad has to figure it out. And I was like, oh God.
Does he really though?
Like, he's never going to figure it out.
They don't know different.
Well, and again, my dad was a police officer. They do so much compartmentalizing.
Yep.
That the emotional side gets put in a lockbox and it doesn't always open back up again properly. So you're asking my dad to recognize an emotional state of my sister, connect with it, and make a new decision. Dude, that is not
that's not going to happen.
I waited 3 days and my sister was moody and bitchy all 3 days because my dad had fucked up. I was like, oh. So I waited till my mom was right. I waited till my mom was at work. And I mean, bear in mind, at this point, I'm like 21. Like, I'm a baby adult, right? And I called my dad and I said, hey, do you have a minute to talk? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And I literally said to my father, are you fucking stupid? Okay. Now, my dad is 6'4", carries a gun, has a badge. Like, I never talk back to my dad. And I called my dad fucking stupid. And my dad started to argue. I'm like, no, I need you to listen. Yeah. I'm like, do you know that what you said hit this way for my sister? And my dad was like, oh my God, no. I'm like, yeah. You basically told her she's crazy. She thinks you want nothing to do with her and are going to disown her and you're going to send her off to live in an asylum. He's like, that's not what I meant. He's like, I didn't know what to say. I just said something. I'm like, okay, well, maybe next time we don't just say something, the first thing that pops in your head. Maybe we think about, ooh, does that sound like that first?
Yeah.
But I coached my dad through realizing that that was not okay.
Yeah.
You know, and thankfully my dad called my sister back and apologized and they had a much different conversation. They talk now all the time.
That's good.
You know, and I spent 25 years denying that it was me that told my dad that that was a problem.
Because it wasn't you that told him. It was
my mom point blank asked me the next day if it was me. I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
He worked it out on his own.
It's amazing. Dad had an epiphany for once.
Yep.
Well, and this is still like a practice that we see happen day in and day out. I was like, this is gaslighting.
Yeah.
But like that generation really didn't even know that they were doing it. It wasn't like a conscious gaslighting. It's just like, this is my conditioning.
Yeah, that's
But
just it.
denying someone's reality, it's like, especially when it comes to feelings, it's like, how can you deny someone's feelings? They're their feelings.
I was at a dinner last week with just a really, really good group of people. And I had the honor to meet this woman that mentors young adults, teenagers and young adults in the LGBTQ space. And there was a person that was born a girl and now identifies as a male. And they were going to go buy suits, men's suits. And they were so excited about it, you know, and their family wants nothing to do with them. And I'm like, well, next time that happens, call me, I'll go, you know, because that person has feelings. They are still a human being that cries, laughs, gets pissed off. This is just who they are. That's all that matters. And they need to know that they are still loved, they are still recognized, they are still supported, and they are still respected. Yeah. You know, I had a kid. I went to participate in Read Across America a couple of weeks back at the elementary school I mentor in, and I hung out with the sixth graders. I read a book. No sixth grader wanted to hear a book. They just want to talk about stuff. So I sat on the floor and I talked to these kids. And there was this kid that, honest to God, I thought that they were a girl when I saw them at lunch. And I said that, you know, and the entire class corrected me. They're like, he's a boy. They're a boy, but they identify as they. And I went, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. That's my bad. And they were like, no, it's cool. But, you know, thank you for recognizing that. But to watch an entire classroom come to that person's defense.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was so awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
these days, gotta love
kids,
that.
it was so awesome. And at the end, they're like, we're sorry, Miss Corey, we didn't want to get mad at you. Says we are really protective of them. No, I get that, and keep being protective of them.
Yeah, keep doing it.
Keep doing what you're doing, because you're doing good.
Yeah. My girlfriend is a body positive yoga instructor, and she's very vocal, very outspoken, and challenges the societal norms and the way people talk about things.
I saw her on a live about going into the locker room at the gym. Yep. Yeah. And so she's amazing. She's very loud, and it goes back to what you said, that we're at a point where we don't let those things go, and that we don't necessarily, we're not quiet like we were. Mm-hmm. She's definitely loud in the front, sparks, fireworks, light show, lasers, right? And I am still quiet, but I do not behave quietly, right? Like my actions speak much louder. I'm that person where if you're having a bad date at a bar, find me. I will absolutely 100% pretend to be your aunt, your sister, your cousin, your mother, whatever you need.
Your lover.
Out of there, right?
Yeah. Your girlfriend, like, you're cheating on me,
right?
Hey, I would do that for a good friend.
I would totally do it. I would.
Yeah, I'm like,
I do it
your
for a
girlfriend
stranger.
right now. Let's go.
Right?
You need me to be your wife?
Yep.
Call me.
Let's go.
We have a safe word. Just text it. I'm on. Yep.
Right? Exactly. For me, it started, oddly enough, with helping the tourists in Toronto. In Toronto, downtown Toronto, like in any major city, the tourists that struggle with English, who don't know the area, people in business, they ain't got time. They don't want to deal with that. They're not going to do it. They don't want to deal and point them to where they're going or whatever. And I was like, somebody has to be nice to these people. Like, so I would just, every time I saw one of those people, like, hey, do you need a hand? Like, are you looking for something? Oh my gosh, yes. And then they would like try and read through a dictionary to tell me what they were looking for or whatever. And I would point them in the correct direction and then give them alternate suggestions if I could for what they were looking to do. Right? Because I wanted to be different. I didn't want to be the person that just continued doing the same thing.
Because then there's no change.
No. So I'm really, again, I'm not, my manipulation is all out front. I don't hide it, but I also don't like put spotlights on it. When I moved to change the world, It might be subtle, but I'm going to move a lot when I change it.
Ooh,
Yeah, but like those ripples you're creating, like I was saying
big.
earlier, you're affecting change with the ripples, and those ripples are rippling onto other people that think that the way that you do things, one is different, but also that's all they know. So that's the status quo. So they can actually build on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to honor and respect time too, because this has kind of gone in two different directions on this episode, which has been super fun. And now I'm thinking,
Absolutely.
I always love to leave listeners with a little bit of advice from whoever we bring on. And I think this is kind of a two-part question given the direction this conversation went in. One, what advice would you give to anyone who's contemplating entrepreneurship? And then also on advice on being a better human, because that's kind of where we went. Like, how do you human better? Maybe even as an entrepreneur. We
Because we
talked
know
about
you don't want
leadership.
it.
We talked about being a better human and being an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. What words
Yeah.
of wisdom do you want to leave people with?
When it comes to being an entrepreneur, follow Nike's example, just do it. If you're already thinking about it, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And be the person that you want to be in that role. Don't settle for anybody else's game plan, how to, whatever. You want to be a different boss, be a different boss. You want to be a different leader, be a different leader. Be the person you want to be in that role. And when you do that, you become a better human.
True.
Right? Embrace who you are, embrace what you want to be, and learn to leave what's expected and always done and should be at the door where it belongs, outside in the cold, and just be fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Amen.
good. Wow.
Yeah. So what's next for you? We always say we're always living in some state of transition. What is next for Sarah in either your professional or personal world that you're excited about?
I'm excited about offering our bookkeeping services. That's nice to be able to roll out a new service.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about the direction I've been taking with my company for the last year, which is involves a bit more mentorship and coaching of my clients while we work together. I am privileged to work with some great entrepreneurs that don't have corporate experience. So I'm able to take all of my experience and translate that for them to give them access to the hallowed halls of finance and investment and all that kind of thing that they would not normally have or would be intimidated by. And I like being able to coach them to find their inner awesome and feel okay to say no and set a boundary.
I like that term, inner awesome. I like that. Yeah. That may be a hashtag.
There you go. Hashtag inner awesome. If people
Inner
are
awesome.
interested in connecting with you, Sarah, learning more about what you do, where can they find you?
You can find us on the major social media platforms at CVA Pros, or you can always find us at our website at cvapros.com.
Okay.
We'll put that in the show notes too. Definitely. Peeps need to know you.
Yes, they do. Well, thank you so much for coming and speaking
Thank
with
you,
us.
Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, this
It's
was a
so
good
fun.
one. Yeah.
We will definitely have to have you back. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back again next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in this week. We appreciate our listeners more than you could ever know. If you liked any part of what you heard, please, please, please do us a favor and follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're willing to go a step further, we would love for you to leave us a review and send this episode to a friend that you feel would be served by it in any way. We are so excited to finally share more about Catalyst, the community that we are building in conjunction with this podcast. Our mission with Catalyst is to create an authentic, safe, and inclusive space for heart-centered, growth-minded, multi-passionate women to navigate their life's transitions by building meaningful relationships, learning from one another, and growing into the best version of themselves, and maybe even make the world a little bit better in the process. If you're interested in becoming a founding member of Catalyst, we would love to learn more about you and have you apply at wearecatalyst, all one word, .social. We only have a limited number of spots for this founding member round, so be sure to get your application in soon. Again, the website to apply is wearecatalyst.social. We look forward to the possibility of getting to know you on a deeper level and supporting you in navigating your life's transitions. We cannot wait to have you join us for the next episode. Until then, we encourage you to lean into your community and embrace the growth that inevitably happens when you're in transition. See you guys next week.